evening. I would like to call to order this Anoka-Hennepin Special School Board meeting for today, May 12th, 2025. Please join the board in pledging our allegiance. Our first order of business is to approve the school board agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
With a motion from Director Simon, is there a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Co-Chair Arco. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the board agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, the agenda is approved. Our next item is item 4, labor relations and benefits, setting health insurance premiums/rates, which is set for approval tonight. We welcome Dr. Jennifer Cherry, Executive Director of Human Resources, and Todd Mensink, Director of Labor Relations and Benefits. Thank you.
Good evening, Co-Chair DeShane, members of the board, Superintendent McIntyre. Director Mensink and I are here this evening to share with you information about our district insurance plans and recommend rates for the 25-26 plan year. Just a little information about our insurance plans and information that we do receive from stakeholders. We do have an insurance advisory committee that assists in reviewing this information with us. We have about 20, almost 30 people on our insurance advisory committee, and we have representation from all of our employee groups. Again, those stakeholders come together on a regular basis, approximately 5 times a year, to continually provide input and review the status of our insurance plans. And with that, we'll hand it over to Todd, and he'll walk through our presentation for us.
All right, good evening, Co-Chairs Arco and DeShane, members of the board, Superintendent McIntyre. To start, as a self-insured district, we pay our own insurance claims and set our own premium rates. So if we were to purchase insurance off of the market, we would be given premiums. Because we're self-insured, we need to set those premiums in order to cover our expenses and maintain an acceptable reserve to cover any variance in claims or run-out expenses we incur. We have consultants at Aon who provide analysis to establish rate recommendations. We work very closely with an actuary on this information. And our claims projections, administrative fees, stop-loss insurance, rebates, discounts, and other costs associated with administering the plan are included in their analysis. We'll start by looking at dental rates. So this shows some underwriting information on our dental plan. As you can see, we have a little over $5 million in dental aggregate paid claims every year. Currently our dental rates are $85, with the district contributing $80 and employees contributing $5. We haven't increased the dental rates in several years because we have a very, very healthy fund balance. That fund balance, so we've been setting the rates lower than normally required to spend down that fund balance, which was still at about 1.6 million, and it really only needs to be about a quarter of that as of last year. If we don't increase the rates this year, we'll fall behind the recommended fund balance. So we're recommending a $5 increase in the dental insurance rates this year. If you move to the next slide, so this just highlights our recommendation is that we increase dental rates by $5 a month to $90 for this year. Moving on to health insurance rates, and this is really the bigger issue. On this slide, you see our current insurance plans. So we have one kind of Cadillac plan, the Choice Copay Plan, that has no deductible, an open access network. You just pay a $25 to $100 copay when you need to go in and access care. You can see we have a little over 700 single and 200 family members on this plan. And then we have 3 plans that utilize this deductible 80/20 plan design. So there's a $1,500 single and $3,000 family deductible. And once you hit that deductible, there's co-insurance of 20% until people reach their out-of-pocket maximum, which is $3,000 for single and $6,000 for family. Of these 3 plans, the one that's used most often is the Choice 80/20 plan right now. When we went to United Healthcare, they didn't have a network equivalent to Elect, which has Allina, Riverway, and Park Nicollet. Allina is by far the largest provider in our area. And so we saw some movement to Elect last year, but the rates were set very close, and we had more people deciding to stay on the Choice open access network. And then Vantage Plus is our least expensive plan. Again, it has that same plan design, but utilizes mHealth Fairview network. So this is the executive summary from Aon dealing with medical pricing and the status quo. So the forecasted increase required is a 22% increase in total premiums. Per employee per month, that comes to about $295 or $15.3 million. So currently, at our current premiums, we're projected to get about $68 million, and then that extra $15 million is needed to get us to 83, which is where we need to be in order to maintain a solvent plan. Going into this, the market trends there are showing the inflationary factors we're looking at. So medical claims are going up 8% this year. Pharmacy claims 13%. So the overall trend is 9.3%. In the past, that trend was closer to 6 to 7. So part of the reason for this rate increase is that the cost of medical care is going up faster than previously. A few key observations here are the drug trends continue to increase due to specialty medications and GLP-1s. GLP-1s are generally for weight loss or diabetes. It's a new class of drugs that is contributing to our higher rates. Experience in the second half of the last plan year deteriorated badly, and in an upcoming slide we'll show what that looked like. And the other thing is the last plan year was an outlier in terms of high claims, the severity of claims. We had 11 members with costs over $500,000 and 26 with costs over $250,000. So we were hit particularly hard last year. And our claims appear to have leveled off a little bit, but they haven't been going down. In terms of methodology, they used historical data to forecast our expected claims. You know, we look at a point in time and project forward. If you go to the next slide. This slide shows the historical claims trend. And if you look at those red arrows, they kind of show that, so we're using claims through February. And that's kind of what we do every year as we set claims. We bring them to the board in April for the first reading, and then usually the first board meeting in May for the final reading. And you can see last year we had there started to be a spike there with the February claims, but it wasn't clear if that was a moment in time, and claims kept going up. So we saw a 20% trend last year, actually. You know, rates went up 20% over the prior year. We had set our rates a little below 10%, so there's there was a real unexpected increase in the last year. And it really started just as, and really took off just as we set rates a year ago.
Can I pause for
Yep,
just
go
to
ahead.
just add a little bit more commentary? This is a really important slide for us to understand. Our claims, when we find this information at what point in time, and then how we project forward, right? So what we see here with the light blue bar is 2 years ago. So we were with UHC at that time, now we're with Medica. But we used that information at that point in time in February of '23. We still had 6 more months of data or claims that were coming in after the rates had already been set based on what we projected that year to look like. So with that first red arrow, that's where we were setting claims for the next plan year, which you see in the blue box there, UHC year 2. When we set the claims in February of '24, that red arrow right there, we were setting rates based on just information up until that point. What you see there is a pretty large progressive increase in claims in the next 6 months. We didn't know that information, that our claims were gonna come in so high. And so last year, had we known that the claims were gonna continue to increase, we might have set our premiums higher last year too. So now we're kind of playing catch up. So we've had to spend down some reserves to help pay out those claims. So now what you see on the last bar there, February of 25, that's the point in time. We have this amount of claims data now, and we're setting premiums for next year. We're using history to project forward where we're going to go. And so if that, as you can see, our claims have started to level out a little bit, but we're trying to project forward. Is that trend line going to continue to increase, or are we going to level out, or are we going to dip back down to where we had been in previous years? So those are all factors that we're considering, and we want to, again, ensure that our premiums are set at a rate where we can continue to fund the claims as they come in next year. And that's the actuarial that helps us determine our best projections.
All right, if we move to the next slide, this shows our internal service fund. So this is it's Fund 20. This is where we collect our premiums, we put them in this fund, and then we pay all of our expenses out of it as well for the, and this is only looking at health. There's a portion of Fund 20 that's set aside for dental and for workers' comp insurance as well. But you'll notice through time, we have the blue and red lines, which are expense and revenue, and they ran largely hand in hand. We tended to increase our rates to a similar amount as what expenses went up. If you look at the green line at the bottom, that shows where our reserve is, and the 2 dotted blue lines show the range that Aon says that we should try and maintain, which is 24 to 30% of variable expenses. And if you look at 2023, you'll note we're right in the middle of that range. When we set rates in 2023, for 2024, like we had said, using claims through February, we were anticipating that it would lead to still being in the middle of that range in 2024. And we saw it dip to the bottom of the range because of that experience at the end of the fiscal year. And then this year we saw, a precipitous decline as those rates continued to increase. So we're now actually below the point where our incurred, if you look at that 24 to 30%, about 10% of it needs to be to cover incurred but not reported claims that we've incurred but have not yet paid. And we're actually below that portion. And then the remainder is there to really cover variance in claims. So it's because we had the fund balance available. You know, otherwise we would be borrowing from the general fund right now in order to fund the health fund. If you move to the next slide. So this is called a waterfall chart, and this identifies what went into the projected increase here. So again, the trend is at medical and RX trend at 8.7%. And so 9.3% on claims results in an 8.7% increase to premiums, because there's other costs associated with the claims, or admin fees and stop-loss insurance that aren't included in that. Our stop-loss insurance is insurance we hold to cover any claims over $500,000. And we also have aggregate stop-loss, which will cover all of our claims if we exceed 125% of expected claims. Just so you know, Medica, when they set our aggregate stop-loss, also was not expecting our claims to go up that much. So we're actually projecting to get somewhere near that 25%, nearer than we've ever been before. I still don't anticipate we'll actually need to use aggregate stop-loss. But the stop-loss had a 14% increase negotiated into our 2-year contract. And so that 14% increase represents a 0.5%. Our admin fees were set with no increase for the 2 years. And there were also some credits included, about $512,000 worth of credits each year in the plan. So that is included in these costs as a reduction. If you look at the big cost here is the experience gain or loss. So that's where we are 9.7% higher than what we were anticipating a year ago. And so we need to, you know, move up to being able to fully fund and then cover that inflationary increase. And then there's also 4% built in for reserve load. So, you know, ideally we'd like to get to that 24 to 30%, but we can't do it all in 1 year. So the strategy is over several years, we'll try and build in that 4% to try and get up back up to where our reserve is healthy. All right. Next, just want to talk a little bit about cost containment considerations. So Aon came to us with a number of options that could reduce the increase in premiums by reducing the benefits on the plan. So here you see sort of a variety of different options, starting with making prescription drug copays subject to deductible. Currently they're not. But that's only a 0.3%. And then they gave examples of increasing prescription drug co-pays, 3 different options for increasing deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums, and then increasing that coinsurance from 20 to 30%. So, and then if you see scenario number 7 is combining sort of all of those cost-saving measures, and it would represent about a 3% reduction in the amount that needs an increase. The other thing we looked at was the removal of GLP-1 coverage for weight loss. So GLP-1s are a fairly new strain of drugs. They've been around about 3 years. And they're really hitting all plans right now that have them. And so we looked at and brought to our committee the possibility of eliminating GLP-1 coverage for weight loss. Our plan has always covered weight loss drugs, but these are new weight loss drugs that are more effective than others. And most people aren't taking them just to lose weight. They're taking it because they have sleep apnea or some other condition where losing weight would assist them with it. So Aon came to the committee and shared these different options. If you want to move to the next slide, we can talk about it. So overall premiums, again, like I said, need to increase by 22% or $15.4 million to cover expenses. the plan design changes, including the elimination of GLP-1 coverage, and those increases to out-of-pocket costs, were shared with our insurance committee as options to offset some of the premium. Our committee members sought input from their respective employee groups before providing additional feedback with administration via Google form. And we didn't have consensus from our bargaining groups about implementing any of these plan design changes to reduce the value of benefits. By state statute, so you're aware, we can't reduce the aggregate value of benefits. It's a negotiated item. The statute says we can't reduce that aggregate value without the agreement of all bargaining groups. And so it was administration's opinion that and from the feedback we got, we didn't feel that we would be able to get every bargaining group to sign off on this. So our suggestion is to keep the plans as is and increase the co-pays. The concern would be if we did implement those changes.
Oh, just a second.
yeah.
You just said increase the copays.
Oh, I'm sorry, increase the premiums. Yeah, the concern would be if we did increase the co-pays or we did cut the GLP-1 coverage, we could have a grievance that would require us to go back and still provide that coverage, and then we would have set our premiums so that they wouldn't cover them. So we don't suggest taking that risk. All right, so moving on to our rate recommendation. I'll start with our current health insurance premiums. So at the top, you can see our single plan. So our most expensive single plan is $1,020 a month. Our least expensive one is $810. And the current district contribution for all groups is $810 for all groups with a fixed contribution. And so there you can see the employee share per month. And then our employees have their insurance taken out over 20 paychecks during the school year. And so there you can see the per paycheck amount employees are paying is between $0 and $126 for single. And that means that the district is covering between 79 and 100% of the cost for singles. If you go down to families, you can see the premiums are between $2,780 and $2,105 a month, or $2,105 and $2,780. And we currently have a district contribution of $1,515. So the employee contribution ranges from $590 to $1,265, depending on plan. And on a per paycheck amount, that's $354 to $756. And then you can see as well that, so the district is covering between 54 and 72% of the premium for family. Moving to the next slide. Currently, the district negotiated a 5% increase to health insurance premiums with those bargaining groups whose contracts were settled last year. So the single contribution went up to $850, the family contribution to $1,590, and they also all have a dual spouse benefit where if two employees are married to each other, they essentially get the single plus the family contribution. We have 8 bargaining groups currently with open contracts, and they may or may not end up agreeing to this standard contribution shown above. So we're using it for demonstrative purposes, but it's possible these other groups might want to negotiate more on insurance and less on salaries, or negotiate less on insurance and more on salaries. So since we still have those 8 open contracts, we can't necessarily say where everyone will land, but this is, we're gonna use these amounts just because if people settle for the budgeted amount, this is what it would look like. So if we move to the next slide, we're offering 2 options. One is a 22% increase to all plans. One thing I'll note is that 22% increase is to the overall premium. Because the district pays a larger portion of the premium than the employee, and because the district contribution isn't set to go up by as much, that means the percent increase the employee is going to see is going to be higher than this the increases we're looking at. We're providing two options here. Option one is a flat 22% increase to all plans. Option two would increase the choice plans by 23% and the Elect and Vantage Plus plans by 20%. The rationale behind that is that there's a suggested decrement between our plans. So the Elect plan is supposed to be 6 to 7% less expensive than the choice plan. That's how much it's projected to save when people move from choice to Elect. And Vantage Plus is supposed to be 2 to 3% lower than Elect. And so by increasing those lower plans by a little less than the high plans, we can get that same total dollar amount, but we will get closer to that decrement we're looking at between plans. And it will give people an option for to move to those lower plans and have a smaller increase. So this slide shows option one. So you can see the increase of 22% would result in single premiums going up to $990 to $1,245, and family premiums from $2,570 to $3,390 a month. And you can see the district share is that $850 and $1,590 we shared on the previous slide. So that leaves the employee share for single going up to $140 to $395 a month, and and for family up to $980 to $1,800 a month. And then you can see what that is on a per paycheck basis and the total change per check. So if you look up at the single plans, you can see the choice copay, they'll be up to $237. It's $111 per check. So it's a sizable increase. Vantage Plus 80/20, they were at 0, now they'll be at 84, so there's an $84 increase. If you look at the share of the premium paid by each, on the previous slide, I believe we were running from about 80 to 100% district. With the current budgeted amount, this would be more like 68 to 86% for single, and for families, 47 to 62% covered by the district. On the next slide here, you'll see option two. This option is to increase the choice by slightly more than Elect. Because we have more people on choice right now, you only need a 1% increase in choice to pay for a 2% increase in Elect, a 2% cut in Elect and Vantage Plus. So here we have increases from $970 to $1,255 for single, and increases to $2,520 to $3,420 for family. And if you move over, you can see the per check amounts. You can see the district share and employee share. And you know, we put in red that change per check because we think that's probably the most important thing, you know, that we need to consider the impact it has on the employees. So this would be a $72 to $117 increase per check for employees, for single, and between $204 and $339 for family. And you have very similar, because these rates aren't a whole lot different than option one, the percent paid by the district is fairly similar. All right. The district administration is recommending increasing the Vantage and Elect plans less than the choice plans in order to provide a lower priced option, while also bringing the plans closer to that suggested cost decrement. We think in introducing plan design changes that may result in a reduction in the aggregate value of benefits is not recommended without the consensus of all bargaining groups. And that may be something we could look at in the future as we have more conversations with our insurance advisory committee. Moving forward, our next step, our open enrollment is scheduled May 27th to June 11th. Our open enrollment materials actually need to get to the print shop tomorrow in order to make that timeline. And then our insurance year starts September 1st. So this is kind of always what we've done, is have the open enrollment just before school gets out. So we can get the communication to employees while they're still here and not gone over the summer. And then the new plan year starts right with the beginning of the new school year. So this final slide just shows our final rate recommendation. So again, we're recommending that option 2, and you can see the rates right here. We're also recommending the dental rate be set at $90. Our dental plan's a little different. It's combined. It costs the same for single or family.
And with that, this is our recommendation again, board. We are looking at looking for approval of our monthly premiums for each of these plans for both singles and families. At this time, we are not asking for board consensus or board direction on district contribution towards those premiums. At this time, it's really about rate setting of our premiums. And so with that, we're open to any questions or comments that you might have. And hoping.
Thank you. Director Audette.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. So the first, I just saw it in the news today that President Trump signed an executive order that seems to have the potential to significantly reduce the price of prescription medication, which, you know, if it did, could obviously have a significant impact on the price of the drug benefits. And I'm sure people might wonder, how could that affect the rates for this year? And so I guess I'm going to connect that to, and I want to make sure I understand. So for the fact that our bargaining groups weren't able to consent on removal of GLP-1 coverage, it's for that reason that we don't see that as an option in what was presented, right? But you said perhaps in the future, if that, so maybe because the two things are sort of similar in the fact, like in the future, how might you see in the future? Does that mean we'd have to wait until the next plan year? In the case of if that GLP-1 coverage got consensus? And now we're talking a little more hypothetical, if this executive order were to impact drug prices, might that have to also wait until the next plan year? Has there been a case before where we, in the middle of a plan year, made any changes to the rates?
We've never made changes in the middle of the plan year.
Okay.
I would anticipate if those measures were effective, it would make it so there's not such a steep trend next year.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the prices would, even if they impacted us mid-year, the actual expenditure on those could potentially go down, and it would get evaluated at that time?
Yeah.
A couple of things. We pay our claims as they come in. So as you know, as healthcare, doctors, providers are submitting claims, right? It takes a couple of months for those claims then to come out in and for us to process and pay those out. So I'll just kind of address the first question, the hypothetical one. If we see at the federal level that there is a reduction of prices for these specialty medications, we would take that into consideration with the next plan year. Again, as we're looking back in order to project forward. And then the second one about plan design changes, right? If we come to consensus, this is something that our insurance advisory committee is really going to be leaning into as we look forward into the next year. As costs continue to go up, we are going to have to find ways to reduce the plan benefits in order to, again, continue to fund the plan. So we're going to have to come up with some creative solutions.
Okay.
So GLP-1s, I think will be coming back to the conversation. Just about the GLP-1s in particular, a little bit more information on that. It seems like we have more research that's coming out almost on a daily basis about not only GLP-1s for weight loss being a cost driver because of the increased use and the long-term need to stay on the medication for that continued benefit. So we know that that increases an ongoing cost, but we're also starting to see more research come in about some ancillary benefits of being on the GLP-1s, where it has the potential of reducing some other long-term costs, such as musculoskeletal or other large issues with heart disease and other factors that also we know drive some high-cost claims as well. So there's a little bit of a mixed review right now on where the trend line is headed in the future.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Superintendent McIntyre?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Director Audette. So just maybe just play off that. My wondering is a bit procedural, but let's say we see that significant drop happen. I mean, I think it requires an act of Congress and so forth, and those things, but let's say that plays out. And if we wanted to reset rates, would we also have to then, maybe people would want to change plans. So we got to do a second open enrollment, or would we just need consensus amongst the committee? So we've never done a mid-plan adjustment, but we've never also seen an increase like this. So if there was a dramatic shift, maybe we do rethink that, but I don't know what set of things that sets in motion. Like, if it dramatically shifts, I might want a different plan, because now I can change my mind on what I want to spend my money on. So that becomes a bit of a logistics question in my mind, like, can we manage capacity-wise those kind of changes to people coming on and off plans through our process? So maybe I answered my own question, but it's an interesting one. I think one we should definitely think about if there's a big swing the other way. It at least allows us to reset the next cycle if we can't mitigate it midstream.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I'm not prepared for that question. I would want to run it by Aon.
Yeah, it's worth
As
looking
far as
into.
whether we can do a mid-year change like that, I'm not sure.
Director Lingenfeld?
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. As we think forward, and I appreciate Director Audette's statements about potential future things we don't know, one of the things that I think is really important, because one of our board priorities is recruitment and retention, that we have representation of board members on that insurance advisory to monitor closely what's happening as well. So I reached out to Dr. Cherry and to the superintendent to make that request. I really think it's vitally important to have one or two board members. That's been my experience, and I think it's just very helpful to keep us apprised. Thank you.
Co-Chair Arco?
What are the advantages of having, or of being self-insured like the district is versus otherwise?
Yeah, there is, well, first, there's some tax advantage. There's certain taxes that you don't have to pay because you're self-insured. But the big benefit comes actually when you have a good year. So if we were fully insured, we'd be paying a insurance company, and they would be setting a reserve, and they'd be building that reserve cost into their rates. And there's a chance when you have a bad year like this, I mean, ultimately, if we had a bad year like this and we were fully insured, the insurance company would be coming to us with 22% rate increases. But there's years we actually have, when we have good years and come in below, and then we get to keep that, and it builds up in our reserve, and it allows us to ease increases in the future, which is kind of what we've done with dental.
Superintendent McIntyre?
Yeah, I just thought it might be worth sharing. We did a bit of a poll with our AMSD districts. I was just curious, like, what's the experience around the metro right now? And that does, for us, include Rochester, St. Cloud, Duluth, and Mankato. And of the 22 districts that did respond, over half are seeing double-digit increases, and a third are seeing more than 15%, and we're one of 3 that are seeing an over 20. And I talked to 2 others that were at 18 last year, but then came down to 5 this year. So it's a little, I mean, I think you kind of laid it out. It's, your history tells you, you're leaning on that history, and it's hard to project forward. I was thinking as I listened to you present, the committee was still making decisions April 23rd, 5 days ahead of our scheduled meeting that got canceled because of the weather. So we were trying to get every last bit of data to help make some decisions amongst that group, because all the employee groups are part of that. So no board members, that was being evaluated right up to the 2 days ahead of the packet being published, had we had that meeting as scheduled. So just some information that might be helpful to you.
Director Simon?
Thanks, Casey. Going back on the Director Arco's question on the self-insured. So if you are not self-insured and you run out of your reserve, what does an insurance company do? They take that on themselves?
Yeah.
So if you're fully insured, not self-insured, you don't have the reserve. We wouldn't have the reserves. We
I
would just
understand
be
that.
paying an
I'm talking
insurance
if the
company.
insurance company runs out of their reserves.
Yep,
Because they're building reserves too,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right?
yep. They would increase our rates, right? They would just continue
For the
to
next
give us-
cycle.
Yeah, for the next cycle.
Yeah,
They wouldn't run out of reserves because they have a much bigger pool of reserves than we do.
Yeah, I just, this is the first year that I'm just curious if self-insured is the right thing to do, like going forward. So I don't know, just because you think about the risk, if you're self-insured and your reserve runs out, you would take it from the general fund. Borrow it, you said, but that's taking money from the general fund. So I don't know, I just wonder if, when is the next review? Is it next year?
Yes.
Review, because we're in the second year of a 2-year contract? Is that true?
That's correct.
I'm just wondering if it's good for this board to, and for you folks to do a deep dive into what that means. And it just might be even more easily understandable for our staff if we don't have to talk about things like we have to add 4% in there to build our reserves up more, So I don't know, it's just a thought. This is the first year that it really has negatively impacted the district, our pool of folks and the use of healthcare. So maybe it's a good time to look at that really in depth. Thanks.
Superintendent McIntyre?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was curious about this too, and I wondered about, is the downside it takes away our ability to negotiate that in the compensation package? If we're fully insured, they're going to set the rates, we have no say in that. Am I understanding
Yes.
that correct? So as we walk into negotiations, that's predetermined in essence for us?
So the negotiation item is just the district contribution
Right,
towards
right.
the rates, right? So whether we're self-insured or
Right.
fully insured,
So we'd still negotiate that?
we would still be
Okay,
negotiating that.
thanks for clarifying. Yep, great.
But we would then be negotiating also with an insurance company about those rates, right? Think about your homeowner's insurance, right? You have a big hailstorm and everybody gets a new roof, right? Guess what? Even if you didn't get a new roof that year, it likely might be that you have an increase in your homeowner's insurance because that's been the experience of that insurance company where they've had to pay all those high claims. Yeah.
Director Simon?
I'm really stressing you. I didn't let you know these things. They just came to my mind. But do fully insured folks negotiate every year? Or do they negotiate like us, self-insured, on a 2-year contract or multiple-year contract?
It's on a 2-year contract, so it's the same statute, the Health Insurance Transparency Act governs both. And so you would enter into a 2-year contract that normally would have a cap for the amount of increase the second year, but not necessarily.
Okay.
And then every time we do go out, we have gone for a PEEP bid.
I know.
Which is really like being fully insured. It's a statewide plan that, you would purchase and, buy into. We haven't gone for traditional fully insured bids before.
But we could?
We could.
That's legal? Okay. So Todd, when you talked about the 2-year contract and there's caps, did we have that in our current 2-year contract? Did we have a cap to increase?
We did on our stop loss. So our stop loss couldn't go up by more than 14% regardless of our experience. And our experience last year likely would have led to it going up by more than that 14%. And we had a cap on the administrative fees we're charging, we're being charged. It's just the claims we don't necessarily have a cap on.
So would that be the same type of a contract you would have as fully insured? Or would it be a cap on claim on, whatever we call these, monthly premiums too?
If you're fully insured, they would just charge us a premium and we would send the premium to them.
But I'm talking about the increase in the second year of a contract. Would a fully insured have a cap on the premium increase too?
That would all be negotiable.
It's all
But they
negotiable.
could have a cap on.
So we
agree
could
to a
have
cap.
negotiated it in
Yeah.
our fully insured one too. We didn't at that time. Okay, thanks.
Superintendent McIntyre.
Just one more piece of information for the board, just so you're aware, there's a Senate file right now looking at a statewide pool. It's a different way to look at this for all state workers, not just schools, with the theory of could that provide increased stability and maybe better predictability statewide. There are some states that do this, but it does take away local control in that scenario. But a larger pool could spread that risk and maybe save some money, just you're not having as many brokers and third-party administrators involved. So that, there is a Senate file this year. My sense, it's not going anywhere this year, and maybe in the future, who knows? But it's out there. It's being discussed as another option for state employees.
Director Langenfeld.
Thank you. As we think forward also, the role of Aon in these discussions, I think, will be vitally important. And I would assume that they will be monitoring. Can we expect them, I'm assuming, to monitor very closely what's happening out in the market, what political changes have come forward, so that they would be on top of it and really bringing forward the design plan changes and things that could really support our staff? I think none of us would want to see what we're currently in this reality right now. And looking forward to really, hopefully, get to a better place for our employees as well. So thank you for that.
Members, any further discussion? All right. If not, members, before us is the health insurance premiums rate proposal as presented in Appendix A. Is there a motion to approve the health insurance proposal as presented?
Do we, or sorry, you said option A or B?
The recommendation option
Oh, I got
two,
you. Okay.
as presented. Sorry. Thank you, Director Audette. With a motion from Director Audette, do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Director Langenfeld. Is there any further discussion? Director Simon.
Thanks, Casey. As my wife is a teacher and our family participates in this insurance program, I will be abstaining from the vote.
Director Arco, or Co-Chair Arco, apologies.
You're fine. So I just want to acknowledge this is a painful correction, but I still do believe that the most wholesome way to pay for this is just directly, not to pull from the fund or the general fund or anything like that. So I also, at least from the sound of it, seems like there's merit to being self-insured. So while it's true that we're having a bad experience right now, and I would be interested in seeing what the other option would look like, I don't want to have a possible knee-jerk reaction of saying, well, it's just bad because this is happening. It is unfortunate we're in this situation, but I don't want to demonize the system if it's been working well for us in the past. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, would all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. With 5 in favor and 1 abstention, the motion passes. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, Board.
All right, Board, our last agenda item is to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Thank you, Director Simon. Do we have a second? Thank you, Director Langenfeld. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. 6 in favor and 0 opposed. We are adjourned at 7:20 PM. Thank you.